Hello, chat. We are back. Let me get my music adjusted to the right level. My mouse does not like clicking on this specific level. It does not. It really does not. Like that. There we go. That's like the correct level-ish. Okay. I was like, I'll finish the tower off stream. That didn't entirely happen. I'm gonna be so real. I came to the iron farm. I built part of the tower. I wouldn't call it finished. I may have finished part of it and then low-key just been like, oh fuck this, I'm leaving. Okay. I think I got all. I wrote some books, so we're gonna go by the house first to drop those off before we continue on building with the tower. I went down there, said I would remember to grab the iron. Now I have to go back down. Do you guys think if I go down where the lava is, I'll be fine? If I put my boots on, I'll be fine. We're going. Okay, that was surprisingly more fine than I thought it would be. Anyways, okay, let's grab all the iron. Oh, there's stuff in that hopper. Okay, well. Well, let's just, real quick, just... Perfect. Take those, we put them there. Then we take this, put there. Then we go and we go here. Okay, let's real quick just. Perfect. Why do I not have? Okay, fine. We should probably have this here anyways. Shining to be out of champions, to make a... Oh, cool, I had 2 things directly. Perfect. So much iron, chat. We are no longer low on iron again. Yippee. Oh, since we're out in the desert, actually, let's go grab some carrots first, because we low-key are getting a little low on those. Yep. Yeah, let's go get some of the things from the village. But yeah, okay, I was like, oh, I'll have the tower finished and everything. Oh, no. I did work more on it. It looks better. I like it better now. It still isn't the best. So definitely going to be working on it a bit more. Wait, did I? It is here. I'm like, no, it's not here, and then it is here. But, what's it called? I got so done with that tower. That tower, genuinely, holy fuck, I'm like, why? Why did I agree to do this? Well, not even, why did I agree? Not why did I agree. Why was I like, ah, yes, I know what I'll do. Build a tower for them. Why the fuck did I do that? I don't like building on a good day. We need all the cherry wood we get actually, so we're not gonna use that. I need how many do I need? I need a bunch. Let's go harvest crops. Let's go chop down trees first. We're changing up what we're doing first. Yeah, I am so done with that tower though. I'm actually done with it. But we're finishing it. I've committed to it. It might not become the villager tower. Who knows? It'll become something for sure, that's for sure. No matter what, it'll be something. Just don't know exactly what. I also still have to be like, hey guys, check out the villager tower I made. If we want to move it somewhere else, we can. Or if we want to also do something else. Why did I put a melon in my inventory? Okay. Let's go hunt down some. Let's go harvest the crops and then hunt down some squids. Why the fuck is that there? I don't know. I'm looking forward to soon doing this. Not super far away from the house. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to soon doing this and not this far out from the house and having centralized villagers that everyone can use. I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, go on. Oh, perfect amount. I'm sorry, me and that little black. Oh my. I do it, you're too, I do it. Did you see my bag? Did you see my bag? There are the trophies in it, it's all a thing. What'd you think about that? What'd you think about that? Oh, I hate phantoms, fuck you. Follow me, let's go. Another trophy is carrying those too many you counted. I drop. Okay. Also, chat, I remembered to undeafen in the Discord. Actually, I don't know if I remember to deafen, but I'm not undeafen in the Discord. Okay. Squidding time. Yeah. I feel like there was something I was like, oh, I can talk more about my story. Okay, yeah, I was talking about like basically the premise of the plot, like this world building and stuff last time. This time I can like actually talk about the characters. And so the main story takes part in this kid, Frederick. He's about to turn 18. And when he's like, I think it's like a week or two before he turns 18, he ends up finding a letter to his father, basically from the Silent Assembly, saying that on his 18th birthday they're coming to take him, and that like his father can't protect him anymore. Frederick's like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean protect me? Like, blah blah blah, and all this sort of stuff. But he doesn't really go and confront his father about it because his father is an absent piece of shit, basically. Well, like, not absent in the fact, like, that he's not there, but emotionally absent and stuff. And so, because of that, then he ends up getting discovered by, oh, how does it go? Wait. I don't know exactly how he finds it. Let me go pull up this document. I'm pulling up this document. I want to know. Give me just a second, chat. Marauders. Book 1. Mad Marauders, The Escape. No, that's my real name. Oh yeah, so he overhears his father, and basically the person who stepped up to kind of be his mom, who's one of the servant like maids of the house. She hears them talking. He hears them talking in the study, and basically hears her being like, "You cannot do this to your son," and he's like, "I don't have a choice," and like, blah blah blah. And so Frederick's just kind of like, "What the fuck is going on?" Oh, I forgot that I downloaded a water hair texture pack. I was just like, it was so normal until now. But yeah. And then he goes later and investigates and is like, what is this? And finds out that he's on a list with a bunch of other people. And he kind of pieces together that since the Silent Assembly wanted him, then they want all these people. And on it is like a list of like a power name and, oh, what's it called? I think it's also like name, last place seen, what they think their power is. And so it's kind of like a general stuff, and it's not omniscient. These people that made this list did not know everything. Like that, I want to make that is something that I wanted to make very clear in writing the story, because I was simply like, it really, sucker. Actually, I need to move this back down though. Nope. Teehee. Okay, we're gonna leave that there. Call that good. Okay. But why did I put those on? I'm literally about to take them off. But anyways, so he kind of figures this out and is like, I have to leave. Like, I cannot stay here. I don't know what they want with me, like, but I cannot stay here. And because of that, he goes and he, like, one of his best friends comes by his house and was like, hey, you want to hang out? And he's like, dude, I don't know what to do, blah, 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 and is, like, freaking out, basically. And his friend's like, well, I mean, I'm, like, what, okay, I guess we're leaving then. Like, all of us are leaving. He's like, what do you mean all of us are leaving? He's like, well, I mean, I'm not gonna stay here if I think you're in danger and I'm gonna be freaked out, so I'm just gonna come with. And I can bet you our other, like, best friend, because they have 3, are going to also want to be here. But then, as well, the other thing is Frederick, on this list, saw that one of his maids was on that list. And this one looks different than usual for some reason. But anyways, basically, he's like, well, then we also have to take her and everything. And they kind of, like, literally, like, plan this. They're like, okay, we kind of have to just leave. Like, his birthday's in a week. I don't know what's going to go on. Blah, blah, blah. Like, what? And, so, through that, I'm guessing this is already looted, but I'm just double checking anyways, yeah. But anyways, because of that, then they end up leaving, and they go to one of their friends' house. Because the thing about that friend's houses is that his parents, one of them, his dad, is originally from the middle class, and his mom isn't. And they moved into the upper class, because they were allowed to. And so has this one dude, his name's Jethro. He has experience being in the middle class. He's gone with his dad on work trips. He has friends there. He fits in really well there. He wants to be a mechanic. And then we also have the other guy in their friend group. His name's Luther. He's an asshole in the first books. We, like, get gradual character motivation and, like, character development as the story goes on. But he starts off as an asshole. He is fully just, like, brought up as one of the elites, believes he can do no wrong, what he's been told his entire life is fully right. There's no inkling that in his mind that like it's possibly wrong. Sorry, I just got really confused as to where I was going. Here's the second village. But they go to Jethro's house, and his parents are like, well, okay, listen. His mother is like, it's a bit of a complicated situation, but like in the end, it's basically like his father's like, if the Silent Assembly is after you guys, we need to just get you guys out, like specifically Frederick, and Bella, which is the girl that the Silent Assembly wants. And so, in order to help them, they kind of are like, okay, here's a guy that has some warehouses. You can probably lay low there. They won't be able to like follow a trail if like, and blah blah blah. And because of this, then okay, yeah, that's what I just realized. I was like, wait, what am I doing? But because of this, then they also like are like, well, you cannot go around looking like that. Your father is like a high businessman in the city. You will get recognized. But they're also like, we don't really have a whole lot that we can change your appearance with. So they end up basically just like dyeing his hair and eyebrows and stuff, like bleaching them. And so then they stay there for the night. Frederick's dad is neglectful enough that he does not notice. And then eventually they all leave the next day. They go to the border crossing, and the guards, I mean, it used to be like a severe thing. If you wanted to go from like one like thing to the other, you just kind of like, it was like a grilling. These guys are now basically like, it's not hard work. Not too many people try to move between districts. And especially the upper guards, yeah, they're not really good at their job. So, because of that, then they just kind of slip through. They end up getting lost on their way to the guy. Like, I think they ask for directions from someone, and they get the wrong directions from that person, or whatever. But they get lost. And so then it ends up being like, they kind of run into a bit of trouble and stuff. Eventually they make it to the guy's house. And he's kind of like, but then his daughter, Hazel, convinces him. Because she's like, Dad, literally, like, Jethro's my, like, I mean, you've been friends with Jethro's dad for so long. I've known Jethro for a decently long time. Like, you are not seriously telling me you're gonna, like, turn your back on him now, type stuff. And so her father eventually agrees, and I was like, okay, here's where you guys can, like, go, and stuff. And so, because of that, then they go, and they stay in that warehouse, and then a couple days later, when, like, I think she's just, like, giving them supplies or whatever, Frederick kind of realizes, oh, she's also someone that the Silent Assembly wants. And so, because of that, he ends up, like, telling her. Not as far as the whole thing, she ends up coming to stay at the warehouse with them because, slight issues with that. Meanwhile, I'll take off the gold carrots as well. But meanwhile, while that's all going on, Frederick's dad kind of discovers that he left. Oh, and also Bella's mom helped them escape. That's important to note, actually. Bella's mom helped them escape. And so he kind of figures that she did it and, like, threatens her and stuff. Before eventually he's just kind of like, okay, I need to get my son back. Like, he needs to come back home. Obviously, it is not for good reasons that he wants him back, but he's like, he needs to come home. And so what he does is, there's lots of crime in the city, and a decent amount of it gets a blind eye turned to it. Specifically, if you were to say take out other political candidates. Because in the Silent Assembly's eyes, as long as the citizens are targeting each other, then they have less to worry about. Like, if everyone's fighting each other, then who's gonna fight the Silent Assembly? You know? Like, it doesn't really matter to them. So they're like, yeah, okay, great, you guys fight each other, perfect. Hire assassins and thieves and stuff to bring down everyone else. And we'll just sit here nice and pretty, basically. And so, what is it? So, Frederick's dad, Solomon, that's his name, Solomon Glass, hires the, well, he hires the people that my person's based off of. And they're called the Assassin Trio. For a reason. They are assassins, mainly. They also do work with, other such... What's it called? They also work with, like, information dealing and such. You can see the tower. It doesn't look bad, per se. I just think it needs to be higher, if I really... I think it might do one more and then make the villagers up there. Okay. Yeah, well, we're doing one more layer fully. We're gonna need more stone. And more cherry wood. Okay, let's chop cherry. I did not remember what the song was, so I left it in. It was not the vibe. So Solomon goes and is like to the assassins and is like, I need you to track down my son. And they're like, okay. Well, how it works is, the assassins have, like, slowly kind of started with their business more in the lower things. And then, as they got better at what they did, they kind of expanded into other regions. There's ways to get in between the districts, especially with the guard as lax as it is. And at this point, the Silent Assembly, especially if they're organized crime members, they get a little bit more of an eye turn towards them sometimes. Like, if they're stupid enough to get caught, oh, you're getting fed to the race in the prison, probably. But if you're smart enough, that really just works in the Silent Assembly's favor. And so they just kind of are like, okay, well, if you guys get caught, great. You go to the wraiths. And if you don't, then we have less issues to worry about with a politician trying to usurp us, basically. Anyways, they've been running this for years now at this point. And the system they've created is there's drop-off points. And anyone can leave a message at a drop-off point. You include how much you're willing to pay. You include your own name and the general gist of, like, what you want your job to be. Whether it's assassination, incriminating evidence on someone else, like, just kind of any sort of that stuff. You just make sure it's, like, clear what you want out of them. And then you leave that message in a certain Dropbox. And they check them at least, like, once a week, basically. It's an entire city. They can't check everything every single day. There's only 3 of them. Which is why it was like, okay, they'll get around to it eventually. And so, when he just kind of was, like, waiting, being like, please show up sooner rather than later. And when they do show up, they're like, they just kind of show up in his house. Like, this is what their thing is. They will not show up, like, at a normal person at a normal time. They will show up when their clients least expect them to keep them on their toes. Intimidation tactics. Who has the real power here? The people who can break into your house unnoticed. That's who. Yeah, and so through that, he hires them. Yippee, hooray, my character has work. It's like, I just need you to bring back my son. Like, I don't care about what you do with any of the others. I'm pretty sure you ran off with others. I just need my son back. And they're like, okay, you're paying us a lot, sure. Probably, and, like, they're just kind of, at this point, thinking that, you know, he's, like, a snotty rich snobby rich brat who ran off. They don't really have any sympathy for him or anything. And then as they start looking into this and everything, they're like just genuinely like going about their job, being like, okay, it's another dude we have to just like go find, blah 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 blah. I mean, when you do this so often in one city, you kind of some jobs are a little more routine than others, you know? And so because of that, they're just kind of like doing their job. But they go and they check one of the audio recordings that they have in the office running. They have certain people's houses bugged who are very rich and regularly check them for anything incriminating. So if someone does ever ask, they don't have to go around searching for something. They just already have evidence piled up, you know? It makes their life easier as well. Solomon's house happens to be one of those. So they go and they pull out their recording tapes. They replace it without him noticing. Like Loki fully just was like, yeah, okay. And when they check the tapes, they are like, their leader, Ash, is listening to them. I forgot I have a bunch of stone here. I was like, wow, I'm gonna need more stone. No, I will not. But what's it called? They're like, let's be sick soon. Also, I made hot chocolate and it's like the wateriest thing ever because I did not have any milk in my house right now. Don't blame me. I wanted hot chocolate anyways. But, so, where am I at? Oh yeah, they're listening to the tapes. The leader is listening to the tapes. And, you know, everyone just kind of knows her. Like, they don't know whether the assassins, they all take great pains to hide their identities. And the thing about that is that they don't know, like, anything about their identities. Male, female, like, things. They regularly swap out who goes, so you can't also get a consistent height read on them and stuff as well. And, like, they do a lot of shit that just, like, to confuse people on purpose. It's great. But because of that, I need a circle generator. Because of that, then when Ash is listening to this tape, and then Frederick is reading this list out loud to Bella in the study, and she just suddenly hears her name and goes, oh, fuck. Like, oh, okay, this has become more serious for me. I can't just, like, get these guys and go back, because, the issue with that is I'm fucking on that list. They want to hunt me down, too. So they decide that the best way to deal with this is, that they find the guys and then basically convince them to come with them instead. And basically just go, here, we will offer you more protection. We will offer you guys more protection and everything like that. And you guys just have to come with us, you know? And so they managed to track down the guys pretty quickly. Oh, and at this point, the Silent Assembly has also found that Frederick's gone missing, and is like, you guys have, like, a month to get him back to us, otherwise we are just coming in and killing you. Like, just straight up, they aren't being subtle at all. They don't need to be. Because of that, though, I'm thinking about, what if I just do one... What if I just shrink it by one? Nah, but then we don't keep it. Okay. 5, 1, 1. Okay. And that could be. Blah, 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 what am I talking about? Anyways, and so they managed to go find Frederick. There have been some tensions and everything going on in that group that I'm not going to get into. They managed to find Frederick. And they're like, hey, if you want to survive this, you kind of got to come with us. And everyone in that group that they approach is kind of like, what the fuck? They're like, you have a day to make this decision. Like, you have a day. If you guys don't make the decision within a day, you guys are all dead. And so the group kind of was like, what the fuck? But they end up kind of being like, okay, what choice do we really have here? Like, we don't really have a choice. Oh my gosh. Because, like, if they can find us, then who else can find us and all this sort of stuff. So they end up going with them because they're like, either they sell us out and we're doomed, or we go with them and we're possibly doomed. Little did they know, if they didn't go with them, they wouldn't have actually been sold out, because they were like, if we don't get these guys to come with us, we have, we don't know what's really going on. So they go with the assassins, and eventually it's kind of like, they're kind of just like, okay, just stay put here. And they're all like, okay, why the fuck are you guys helping us? Like, why? And they're kind of going like, oh yeah, we should probably explain that part, because like that's, you know, important. And eventually they do reveal, they're like, so yeah, one of us is on that list. For a bit, like they're just gonna leave it at that, and they're like, it's that there's still ambiguity about like who it is and stuff. And it eventually comes out that the leader is the one who's on the list and everything. But yeah. And so then, because of that, they kind of stay low, and then they eventually then they plan a rebellion. They go track down the rest of the people on the list. The rebellion grows kind of out of its control, like, because more and more people are just like, okay, fuck this, I'm so done living like this. And because of that, yeah, the rebellion gains some traction, you know? You taking down the tyrants that have been kind of threatening this world for a while? Who would have guessed that that would be popular, you know? But it is definitely popular. And because of that, then the space eventually grows. And at this time, Ash is kind of like, okay, there's possibly a person here that, in the underground, that could be really helpful to us. Unfortunately, I don't have contact with said person. And everyone's like, what the fuck, why? And she's like, because if we were in the same place and someone managed to track us down, like, we couldn't trust, we both grew up on the streets, like, we'd save ourselves, and we could not live with the fact if we caused each other's death also, though, which is, like, a bit of an issue, you know, when you're being like, yeah, I'd, like, very easily give up, like, everything is for this person, but I'd also, like, save myself, and it'd put them probably in a situation where they'd both end up dead. And so they kind of were like, okay, it's better if we just kind of keep in vague contact for years. And she's like, okay, I can't get a hold of him at all. Like, I can't find him. We keep relative tabs on each other. But also, like, I haven't really been able to find him. And everyone's going, what the fuck do you mean? And she's just kind of like, please. I'm more concerned about this than you guys, because that is literally her brother right there. And no one else kind of, they're like, okay, I guess we don't know anything else about this. Like, we can't do anything. And surprise, that's Jackson. Definitely interesting. And eventually they are on, like, a mission to kind of mess up the, what's it called, Silent Assembly. When, the Wraiths show up. And because the Wraiths can track by magic, so they've been trying to, like, track down these guys for a while. And up until this point, they know that Ash has a power. They also know that Ash has never used her power, like, in front of anyone in that group. Like, literally no one. Not the assassins, not any of her other friends who have committed to the cause. Like, she has just not used these powers. And so everyone kind of, like, you know, picks up on the point that it might probably is just, it might be a bit of a sensitive topic, you know? Or, like, who knows, maybe she doesn't, like, have the best control on her powers, like, we don't know. And they kind of, like, deal with it like that for a bit. And then they're on this mission, and the Wraiths show up. And the Wraiths, because they're beings of pure magic, kind of have this little fun ability that they can actually, like, appear as the person's, like, something, they can kind of vaguely tell what will scare a person and therefore appear as that. Now, sometimes this is like a fear, sometimes it's a painful memory, like, you know, sometimes it's, most of the times it's a person. The wraiths appear, and this is the first time that Ash has actually come face to face with a wraith. And that's very important to the story, because Ash, for the first time ever, in the middle of a job, freezes. And now, why that's important is because Ash is, like, the one person that everyone's kind of counting on to not. Like, the first job that people end up going on, everyone was kind of like, I don't know, like, what to do, and, like, stuff like that. And one guard was potentially going to sell them out, and, like, they were trying to, like, figure out how to do it, and Ash just straight up killed the man. She was like, I don't care. No, this is, like, we spent too much time arguing about this. We were just going to get ourselves killed. I'm killing him. And everyone else kind of went, what the fuck, Ash? And she went, dude, if I didn't do that, we'd be dead. Like, grow up. And so the fact that she's the one that froze, everyone else starts to get a little panicked. They managed to kind of, like, they're kind of holding their own, but not really. And all of a sudden, Ash just kind of snaps back into it. And she's just, like, she's not really seeming like her usual self. And everyone's kind of like, ooh, shit. Possibly very bad thing, possibly very good thing. I can't tell right now. And she just kind of ends up going and just walking towards the wraiths. And, before anyone can, like, stop her or anything, you just kind of notice this, like, faint glowing about her. And then all of a sudden, the wraiths literally just disappear. And, like, I'm talking, like, melt into a puddle of goop on the floor, clearly dead. And everyone's like, huh? And this is the moment where Ash breaks down sobbing. And everyone just kind of takes a moment and goes, okay, we need to get Ash out of here. Like, clearly more wraiths are on the way. Ash is in no shape to deal with them. Like, she somehow dealt with those ones. I don't think she can do that again right now. So let's get out of here. You know? And they get her out, they get back to base, and Ash just kind of, like, fully shuttles up. Like, she's known people for years in this group, and she's not saying a thing to them. And everyone's kind of starting to get worried. Until finally, one of her friends is like, Ash, what the fuck is going on? Like, we just need to know. And she just goes, they looked like my sister. And, you know, that's, like, a type of thing, what's it called? What's it called? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. And everyone's just kind of like, what? And she's like, they looked like my sister. So I killed them. And they're like, your sister? She's like, yep, my sister. This is the first time that, like, any of them are learning that Ash has had a sister before. Everyone's just kind of a little frozen in shock. And that ends then with them kind of being like, okay, and her being like, oh yeah, I guess I, like, should tell you guys what my power is, because, like, apparently it's active again. And they're like, what do you mean active again? She's like, oh, I just, like, couldn't use my power for years. And they're like, well, what? And she's like, it's, like, tied to emotions, and I tied my emotions away, so I couldn't use my power. And they're just kind of sitting here like, Ash, what the fuck are you saying? But also, like, we are not about to go against this, you know? And it turns out Ash is, because she's been repressing her emotions, has also been repressing her powers knowingly, partially knowingly, because her powers are the reason her sister died, and she didn't really know how to cope with that. And so then, yeah, that's kind of like a big thing. But they also are like, we have a way to finally fight back. Okay, that's too small now. Oh, I think I was right about the fact of I can make that second layer only one in. Okay. It's almost nighttime. But, they kind of were like, wait, we have a way to fight back against the Silent Assembly. That's important. We kind of need that. And so then, because of that, Ash is like, okay, I'll train my powers. Like, it's a way for us to end this war. We can get rid of the Wraiths. And that's, we know the Silent Assembly is controlling them. So if we get out, if we get rid of the Wraiths, we kind of have an easier time dealing with the Silent Assembly. And they plan this big thing for months. They're like, okay, we go in to where, like, they have all the Wraiths and everything, blah, 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 blah. And we'll then go and, like, destroy everything. And right before this all happens, the main group, there's the Festival of Isfa, which is really only celebrated in the lowest of, what's it called? But, it's like, it's a peaceful time. And all of the people who are down from the lowest thing are, like, so excited to show this group. And it's a really sweet moment. We purposely kind of put that in there. We're like, we want them to have one good moment together, guys. Oh, and there's been multiple character deaths up to this point. Like, we are not afraid of character deaths in this book series. We have so many characters, a few are gonna get killed off, you know. But anyways, so they go on their mission. And, it goes horribly wrong. They make it to the Wraiths, but while they're dealing with them, like, Ash is, like, killing them all slowly, the Silent Assembly, like, comes. And basically, they kind of attack before they really know they're there. And they get the upper hand because of it. And, Ash is kind of down for the count. She's been focusing on using her powers to take these all out. But the thing is, as well, is the way that Ash uses her powers, oh yeah, her powers is that she can neutralize magic, guys. She literally, like, physically suppresses it. Which, when you suppress the magic of a being made just of basically magic at this point, that's what kills them, you know? That's how she can defeat the Wraiths, and no one else can. But, the issue with that is, if she doesn't have her abilities, well, if she, like, she's erasing the abilities and suppressing the magic of anyone near her, her friends can't exactly fight back as easily than they would be able to if they have their powers. Which is very starkly realized promptly by the fact that everyone is struggling to fight. And so because of that, then she kind of stops killing the Wraiths because she's like, oh, we need to just get out of here alive. But it's kind of already too late for that. They left a guy with, like, an escape thing to, like, make sure. And Lily, one of the assassins, her power is explosions. And they basically went, if you ever see a big explosion shoot from anywhere in the castle, you need to leave immediately. It means stuff has gone incredibly wrong. And we need you to get out of here to at least tell everyone else that it went wrong instead of them not knowing. And basically, the book, that's, I think, the third book in the series. And it ends with it literally basically just fading to black as the last character is, like, lying on the floor dying. And you're just kind of like, okay, so everyone on that group is dead. And then the new book comes, the fourth book comes in, and it's like, surprise! Some of the characters survived. Only Ash and Frederick survived, but hey, Ash and Frederick survived, kind of. And so it comes to them, and it opens with them being in a prison. Well, actually, okay, technically the book opens with, like, Arrow, the guy they left on the scouts, going to the rest of the camp and being like, guys, they are fucking dead. And the rest of them is like, what do you mean? He's like, I mean what I said. They are gone. They ain't coming back. Like, yeah, unfortunately. And so, because of that, then, because of that whole thing, then everyone else kind of starts planning on other things. And, like, they're a little wanderless. And I mean, one of the assassin crew didn't go on that trip. And so they just think they just lost the only two people that really mattered to them in life and stuff. And, like, it's hard. It's really depressing, actually. But then we go to the prison, and we see Ash and Frederick are still alive. And they were placed into a different, like, category on the list of, like, what the people, what the Silent Assembly wanted in the first place. I realized I'm kind of jumping back and forth a lot on this story, so if things don't make sense, I can always talk about them more, because I would love to do that. But, basically, because of how everything went down, then, like, they're just kind of like, what the fuck happened? They don't even really know and stuff. And then they notice, like, in their cell as well, we get introduced to two new people. We get introduced to Phoebe and Jackson. Phoebe, we have no context about. Jackson, Ash immediately goes, holy fuck, you're alive. And Jackson kind of goes, holy fuck, how the fuck did you get captured? And, both of them are kind of like, oh my gosh, this is, like, great and terrible at, like, the same time. Number one, we know each other are alive. Number two, we're both in fucking prison. And Jackson is the guy that Ash has been trying to track down for literal months at this point. And so she's just like, I'm happy you're alive. I'm so upset that we're both in jail. A very touching sibling reunion if it weren't for the fact that, yeah, it was in fact taking place in jail. And so then, with this whole, like, thing of, okay, they're, whatever. Everything's kind of, like, at a bit of a standstill because, like, the rebellion just kind of lost its leaders. Or they think they did. The Silent Assembly is trying to get, like, these guys to crack. We don't exactly know entirely why. And then eventually gets, like, kind of found out that they're trying to get them to crack so they can use them as warriors, weapons. Because the guys that they picked all had really fucking powerful powers. Frederick can locate people based off power. He can track down an individual person based off what their power is. He's literally like a walking compass to the magic, and the Silent Assembly kind of was like, we kind of need that in order to fully survive. Ash can literally cancel out powers, which would also make it really easy to subdue anyone then. Jackson can control luck, the probability of something happening, which is also fucking insane. We love Jackson. Purse. Gotta focus. Okay. This is 4, and so this is 5. So, gotta get a book. But anyways, Jackson can do that, and Phoebe can read minds. Yep, like, she can just read minds. All very strong powers, like, very strong powers. And so they kind of are like, we want you guys to work for us. And they're like, all like, no. And they're like, we will literally make you go insane so that you can't do anything but obey us, basically. Yeah, Silent Assembly is fucked. They are so fucked as an organization. Okay, wait. 1, 2, 3, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is 5, 6, 7. Okay. 6. No money makers. But eventually they end up making an escape plan, and they're like, okay, Phoebe's probably the one who can give some of the most information. She's been here the longest, and also she kind of needs to get out the most because of that, because like she's been here the longest, getting literally tortured, you know. So they kind of make it the priority that like if one of them gets out, it's gonna be Phoebe. And also, here's the other really funny thing, like, okay, like Frederick has never experienced an ounce of like torture or like physical pain really before he got involved in all this. Meanwhile, Phoebe, Jackson, and Ash all grew up in this, and so they're all like, okay, yeah, we know what to do, blah 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 blah. And Jackson's like, no, and then we just have like, what's it called? We just have like Frederick going, no, we don't, and everyone's like, oh right, we have a dude who doesn't exactly know what to do. Like, not in a bad way, just more so in like a, you know, yeah, it's kind of clear. So they're kind of like, also Frederick's like then the second priority to get out, because he's probably the closest to genuinely having a psychotic break. Not like in a way that they don't trust him, but in a literal way of, you are the closest person to having a psychotic break in here. And he's like, I know. And they're like, okay, good. But with that sort of thing, of course it doesn't go exactly according to plan. And they do manage to get Phoebe out, but only Phoebe. And Jackson and Ash take a real fucking beating from getting her out. Okay, that looks much better. Okay. I actually quite like how this looks, though, on the inside. I think we are going to actually remove fully this part, though. But yeah, Phoebe, they also give her obviously directions of how to get to like where everyone else is. And so Phoebe makes it back and is like, hi, I need help. And they're like, who the fuck are you? And she's like, Frederick and Ash are alive. And everyone else is like, what the fuck? And because of that, so then they start planning. They're like, we need to get them out, like blah blah blah. And so they start pivoting, instead of like just destroying and raising everything, to really just getting those guys out. And kind of their like plan of that is, if we incite a full-blown civil war within the city, or like I forget what that's called. Basically, if we make a full-blown revolution and storm the castle, a lot of like if a bunch of people see that this is already happening, they'll join in. And if we can get enough people to storm the castle, they won't be able to hold back everyone, and we'll be able to get to Jackson and to Ash and Frederick and get them out. I think if we do a cool stone pattern, possibly. Okay. I don't know how I feel. I like the bottom descending, but I honestly... Dude, I don't know what's with this tower. We're gonna take a break from this tower. We're gonna take a break from the tower and instead go and work on our lovely, delightful storage room. That can all come back. So they end up going and storming the castle. And, you know, it's working. Like, it is fully working. They manage to get into the castle. They get to the prisons. They get, like, the people out. And as this is going on, there are fights breaking out. Like, everything's kind of going to shit around them. And they're like, it doesn't matter. We just have to get out with the people. Like, this is kind of our plan. But then they start to notice, like, cheers are coming. And the reason the cheers are coming is because people have killed the Silent Assembly member. Ash did enough of a weakening job that all of them were feeling the effects and were not as powerful as they once were, which is really fucking good. And they go, holy shit, we might actually, like, have a chance at, like, winning this, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, they start to notice that, like, because of all the stuff that's been going on, a lot of powered people, like, a lot of people who have superpowered powers joined the fight. And, I mean, that's not a bad thing, but what it does mean is that the, what's it called? The, castle is taking a lot of fucking damage. Like, the walls are being, like, literally shoved around by these people and stuff like it's bad. And they start to realize that, like, the palace or the castle or whatever you want to call it is not gonna last through this battle. And because of that, they start rushing to get out even faster. At this point, though, like, Frederick, Ash, and Jackson are all relatively emancipated. I mean, Jackson, oh yeah, Phoebe and Jackson were there for, like, over 3 years, by the way, like, held in that prison. Jackson's malnourished as hell. In the end, he ends up using part of his powers of probability to actually stop a piece of rubble from falling on them and instead falling behind them. W for Jackson on that one. Why is this one not a stair? I don't know. Anyways, W for Jackson on that one, for real, for real. He saved them from death. But with that, the slight issue that happens... Okay, wait, it needs to be, like, 3 more. Okay. The thing with that is that, Jackson's kind of, like, his power directly draws on how well he is. Like, the more he uses it, the more sluggish he gets, the more tired, the harder it is for him to focus, like, all that sort of shit. And so, as someone who's already emancipated and malnourished, using your power to alter something like that, not good. Not good. And it kind of, it catches up to him, you know? It really does. And because of that, he's, like, basically on the verge of passing out. They are carrying him through this castle. And then they run into a member of the Silent Assembly. And Ash is just like, fucking go. Like, and this guy's power is, like, explosions and flame and stuff. And Ash knows in her heart that this guy's the reason for Lily's death. Like, Lily died, she had explosion powers. Her magic directly made this guy stronger. And because of that, she's incredibly pissed off. And is like, nah, this guy is dead. I don't care. He's fucking dead. And the rest kind of are like, there's not gonna be a way to get her to leave this. So they kind of move on. And they, like, everyone else is kind of, like, being told evacuate and stuff. And a decent amount of the other, like, actual important rebels were kind of put on, like, fighting duty of, like, literally make sure the Silent Assembly doesn't get to us. Literally every other member of the Silent Assembly, by the time that they realize that they're, like, leaving, is already fucking dead. They're like, oh, where's the last member? We need to get the last member. They're like, Ash is dealing with him. We need to get the fuck out. And they all make it out of the castle. And all of a sudden, as they make it out of the castle, it blows up. And I'm not talking like a little kaboom. I'm talking like full-blown explosion. And they all kind of come to the realization that that explosion could have only been caused by one person. Oh yeah, I need to terraform up there. And that's the guy that Ash was fighting. And if that explosion went off, that meant that Ash's powers turned off. And if Ash's powers turned off, that meant she died, basically. Like, that's what that means. She drained too much of her life with her magic. She she took too much, her magic ran out, it stopped itself, probably, so she wouldn't have, like, directly died, but it would have stopped on the verge of death, enough that she would be able to do nothing. She would pass out. And so, as this is happening, Jackson in particular is not fucking, like, he's on the verge of passing out and he's trying to pry himself out of everyone else's arms to go running towards that building. Because he's like, Ash is there, that's an issue, and everyone else is kind of trying to be like, Jackson, Ash is gone. Like, holy fuck, we know what this means. It means Ash is gone. And everyone's kind of not really accepting it, but at the same time, it kind of has to. I mean, like, what are you supposed to do in the face of something like that? Like, you just kind of have to accept that that person's gone. You saw a building blow up in their face. And so because of that, yeah, we need to build it up to here, I think. Actually, we're gonna dig out the space below, and then we're just gonna go from there. I think we didn't think about this. I don't know, like, we could lower this storage system, technically. It's already decently low, though. I'm gonna finish digging out this section at least, and then we'll decide. But anyways, and, like, most of the people around them are celebrating. They're celebrating. The Silent Assembly is dead. The tyranny is overthrown. We can finally establish a better system. And then there's this small group of probably like 10 people who are all stood together, who are just either sobbing or staring, like, just vacantly at that castle. There's, no matter what the reaction is, you can tell it's an expression, and it's loss. It's grief. Because they just lost one of the only, like, the person who, if they didn't have Ash, the rebellion wouldn't have happened. And they all know that. And they're just kind of sitting there dealing with the fact that the person who really made this happen is gone. Which is a hard thing to deal with. What is going on with my Minecraft? But because of this, like, everyone else is celebrating. They're like, we have to we're the ones who organized this. We have to go deal with this. Which is a whole other thing, because they're like, that's a thing. Everyone's kind of like, Frederick was the leader, but he's right now really not in a space to talk, and Jackson is probably one of the only people who could take lead. He's literally on the verge of passing out and sobbing because he just lost the only person he considered real family. Appo, one of the more other also qualified candidates, is also emotionally very vacant and despondent, because basically what Appo went through is, hey, the only two people in your life that you really cared for more than, like, a couple of years ago like, the people who've actually seen you grow and stuff, they both died, and you're just, like, she had to deal with that grief, and then all of a sudden, she was like, hey, one of those people is actually still alive. She's like, holy fuck, I can get this guy, like, I can get Ash back. And then she goes and leads the attack on the castle. She's one of the fighters. She doesn't see Ash at all. And suddenly, there's an explosion that blows up the castle. Jackson's starting to panic. And everyone else is like, why are you panicking? And he's like, because that's the guy that Ash was fighting. That'd be the reason. And, like, if that explosion went off, she either got far enough away from the guy that her powers didn't have, or, like, they got far enough away from each other that their powers don't have an effect on each other. Or Ash is gone. And that's where it sinks in for Appo, and Appo's like, what the fuck? And then, so, yeah, basically, anyone who, like, actually is, like, in a different place, like, is a decent leader, is dead or unable to lead at that time. And so they kind of deal with it all together. And the end of the series is they do get better. The city and country end up under new, like, people. And it works out. But there's this underlying thing of loss, of grief, of that this didn't come without sacrifice. Yeah, and that's the universe, and that's the story that the universe is in. Um, and Ash is very close and near and dear character to my heart, and Jackson is as well. And so even though one of them ends up dead at the end, I hold a lot of love in my heart for them. I think I have to tear all this down and start again because I don't like how this looks. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, oh, I can start again. No, I don't think I can start again. I think I just don't like this. Fuck! Okay, it's fine. The villagers are gonna not be moved for a fucking while because I hate this fucking tower. Why the fuck does it look like that? It's so aggravating because I don't want it to be that small at the beginning. Yeah, but I can go on a lot about Jackson and Ash because basically what happened with Ash and everything is Ash grew up on the streets and she had a sister, and her sister's name was Willow. And Willow and her were kind of just ended up getting left by themselves on the streets. And the reason for that the reason for that is that their parents got separated from them and then just kind of couldn't, like, find them again. The underground is a crazy place. They also weren't great people. They got mixed up when they were literally fleeing the city. So it was a little hard then to fully, find that person. When they're still in the city. But basically, it ended up with Ash then being the caretaker of Willow when they were like 11 and 9. They were not old at all. And Willow had a healing power and Ash had a power cancel, like, power nullification. Long story short, Ash is kind of responsible for Willow's death, but not really. Fuck, why the fuck is this? But basically, Ash she's responsible. And what happens is, like, they're on a rare day when they actually have enough, they've got enough money, but the weather's nice out, and they kind of are like, we don't, like, it's, Ash basically is, like, still trying to make this life decent for her sister, and so she's like, let's have fun. And there's this one tree in the underground that's, like, there's this one forested park. And so they go there. And while they're like climbing trees and having fun and stuff. And Willow's being kind of reckless because, like, she can literally heal a broken bone within a day. Like, injuries for her are fine. And she's, like, climbing really high up in these trees, and Ash basically just goes, I bet you couldn't do that if you didn't have your power. And Willow goes, fuck yeah, I can. Like, you just turn my power off. And I'll do it. And so Ash does, but to keep Willow within the power radius, she has to climb up with her. And Willow's a good tree climber. Like, this isn't, like, something that she was just, like, cocky about. Like, it wasn't just, like, she's, like, 9. This isn't, like, something that a 9-year-old is just going, oh, yeah, I can do this, and, like, can't actually. Like, Willow can't actually do this. Just want to make that clear. But a branch gives way beneath Willow, and she falls. And she can't catch herself on anything. And she lands on the ground, and Ash's power, in moments of intense emotion, grows stronger and extends how far she can reach. When she sees her sister literally fall to the ground, I'd say that clarifies as a moment of intense emotion. So, her powers extend in a way that she really doesn't want, but she doesn't have she's kind of really only used her powers with her emotions before. Like, she's never really separated those two things out, so they are directly tied to each other. She doesn't know how to deal with one without dealing with the other. She's not that old. Like, obviously, that's gonna happen. It's kind of up to other people in your life to tell you how to not do that when you're like living with this sort of stuff. But she doesn't really have anyone else to do that with. And so she can't turn her powers off. And she's kind of like frozen between going down to her sister and trying to help, or staying up so that her power doesn't deactivate her sister's power. And then she kind of realizes her sister isn't healing. And that's when she realizes things have gone really wrong. And she like hurriedly climbs down the tree. She scrapes herself up pretty good while doing it, because she wants to get to her baby sister. And when she gets there, it's already too late. Lily is dead. She died basically on impact. I mean, Willow died on impact. And she's just sitting there in this grove of trees, holding her little sister's dead corpse and sobbing over it, because she knows that it was her powers that caused this. And her control over them was the issue. She couldn't control them, so she caused her sister's death. And I mean, that's not entirely true. Kinda is, but like not entirely. And so with that, she then is literally just kind of stays there, sobbing for hours. She doesn't really know what to do. Like, her sister was kind of her motivation in life to get things to be better, to do all this sort of stuff. And now her sister is gone. And she's kind of in this place where she doesn't really know what to do. And this is where Jackson comes in. Jackson, who was, I believe, a year older than Ash. I have not thought about this story in actually a while, so I'm mixing up smaller details. He's older. I think by about a year. And he hears stopping. And while, yes, the lowest layer is kind of this place where people will take advantage of you, one of the unspoken rules is a kid doesn't deserve to get involved. You give them a chance to figure shit out. If they choose to get involved in something, that's on them. But you don't involve a kid if they aren't. So Jackson goes and he wanders in because he hears what sounds like a kid crying. He finds Ash sitting over the body of her dead sister. And the thing is, though, is he doesn't know that's her sister or whatever. She just knows that she's crying over a kid's body. And so the first thing out of his mouth is, "Did you do this?" And she goes, "Yes." But she's clearly so distraught over that he knows that it wasn't on purpose, but he also knows that if anyone else found her, they wouldn't give a fuck about that. She'd involved the child, and they would give a fuck about that. So he's like, we need to get out of here. And she's like, why? He's like, you know the rules. You involved a child. And she's like, this is my sister. Like, I didn't involve her in anything. He's like, no one else will know that, though. And that kind of snaps Ash out of it. Ash is like, right. I just have to live now. And she's kind of still in a place of, like, numbness. And Jackson drags her along. And it's just kind of like, okay, I guess you're my responsibility now. And they end up just kind of sticking together. He teaches her what he knows about thievery and sleight of hand, She teaches him what she knows about well, actually, more so the other way around. She teaches him what she knows about thievery and sleight of hand. He teaches her what he knows about power controls and such like that. And Ash does a really fucking good job at separating her powers out from her emotions. So good, in fact, that she basically removes the emotional trigger part of her powers. The issue is that her powers need some semblance of an emotional trigger to actually function. So she essentially locks herself from using her powers. It also is a trauma response. She fully is like, I'm traumatized by this, doesn't really realize it, but kind of unintentionally makes sure that she can't deal with this right away. And so because of that, then they kind of, like, Jackson doesn't really push her on that. He knows what her powers are. He knows what happened. Like, Ash is, like, he fully gets the full story from Ash and, like, everything. They know everything about each other. And so, in the end, then, they become a crime duo. They end up, like, they are really down on money one time. And they're like, well, if you kill someone, I'll pay you a lot. And Jackson can't really quite wrap his head around that. But Ash has always been survival first. And so she goes, I'll do it. Like, Jackson turns down the offer. She goes back and she says, I'll do it. Jackson also didn't want to put Ash in that position. Like, Jackson was like, she might not do well with handling, like, she might not handle it well. So he kind of did it out of protection of her. She did it because they needed the money. And she realizes, because she's also so used to regulating her emotions a lot, because she still thinks she can activate her power at any point. Like, she just, at this point, they kind of were both like, Ash chooses not to use her powers, not that she can't. And so she's kind of a little emotionally numb. And yeah, that's a bit of a different issue to talk about with Ash. But, she figures out she doesn't really feel remorse for killing him. He was genuinely a bad guy as well, so it doesn't really matter. And, she goes back, and after disappearing for a day, to Jackson, goes, okay, I got us money. And he goes, what did you do? And she went, I accepted that job. And he's like, I turned down that job to protect you. But from that point on, they also open up it more. Jackson is a fucking good thief. That man can break into anywhere because he can literally control his probability of luck. Which, includes the things like guessing a safe combination right. Having that thing go unnoticed. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can do with, luck. And Jackson also, like, he doesn't really have any qualms about killing people, but he didn't really want to get involved in the assassination business, per se. But the news spreads that they took a hit. And so people start coming to them with hits as well. And Jackson also, his power makes it real fucking easy for him to kill someone. That's just, like, the truth of the matter. And Jackson and Ash both know this. And Ash is perfectly fine taking all the hits herself. But Jackson, he doesn't really have that sort of moral compass that stops him from doing it anyways. So kind of, yeah. They end up becoming this duo that kills people and steals things and is basically one of the strongest duos in the entire crime world. But then they start to realize that if they end up in this situation where they kind of want Ash, like, Ash ends up trying to use her powers, realizes she can't, it leaves them in a very bad situation, and they kind of leave from that job and go, holy fuck, if things had gone slightly differently, one of us could have gotten captured, and I don't know what the other would have done. And so then they had to talk about it. And they realized that they both were willing to give up their lives for the other person, but they both also knew that they wouldn't accept that from the other person. And so to kind of solve that issue, they also were like, well, if someone catches both of us, they can kind of use one of us to destroy the other one, and we don't really want that and stuff. And so they basically just vowed instead to kind of keep tabs on each other in the background. And maybe check in every once in a while, and if they really need each other's help, to let each other know and stuff. but they kind of end up splitting apart because they're like, we both have our own successful things. We kind of stuck together because we needed each other. You will always be my sibling, but I think we need to, like, stop this. What am I doing? I don't need this. What was... I don't know what circle this was. Okay, let's look at the other patterns and then build off of that. But, yeah. So that's Jackson and Ash's story. And then they end up obviously going in. Yeah. But... okay, did I miss any blocks on the outside? No. I'm so done with building this tower. Okay. So it's just that, right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Oh. Okay. I'll probably leave that there. Okay. The tower has been torn mostly down again. I hate my life. I'm not rebuilding this tower again tonight. I have built this tower like 3 times today. We're stopping it there. I'm very sorry. Yeah, I'm very sorry. We're gonna end it here. Thank you guys so much for coming out to the stream today. I shall be back tomorrow. I don't know. I'll just say 7 p.m. PST, 10 p.m. EST again, because I believe that's probably the most consistent time I will ever stream at. Possibly early stream. Don't expect it though.